Warner Brothers owns DC Comics.
Yeah.
So if you read a Batman or a Superman or a Wonder Woman comic, that is a part of this deal potentially, much like Disney owns Marvel publishing as well, right?
Yeah. It affects who is willing to give James Gunn a longer leash to make whatever projects he wants to make. Hey, welcome back to the Breakroom, everybody. It's Friday, and we're going to do a news roundup here because it's been an eventful week from Warner Brothers, from James Gunn doing all kinds of interesting interviews with fan sites and YouTubers, including
He'll talk to anybody now.
He's just scraping from the gutter to get some people to talk to if he has to talk to this mug. But we were able to ask James Gunn some questions, but really one question we couldn't get to is DC Studios going to be okay if Warner Brothers sells to that one guy who made a cameo in Iron Man 2? David and Larry Ellison. We're going to get into some industry talk here on the Breakroom today. I'm Eric Voss, joined by Zach Huddleston.
Hey, TGIF, breakies, baggies, trash bags.
We're so glad to be joined by you. But not only are we that's going to be the conversation we're having here. We also just want to open it up to do a full Ask Us Anything here. Any question that you have about anything that's been in the news, I guess with reason. We're not going to get into super controversial topics here, but I assume if you're following us on New Rockstars, your questions range from, what was Tony Stark really thinking when he put Peter Parker in his tech, to is Creature Commandos Season 4 going to be a thing? Hey, we'll answer any of those questions. But we're live here on YouTube and on Twitch. Here's what we're going to talk about. Kind of where James Gunn has been this week. Interesting conversations had here at New Rockstars. We ended up having a co-junket with our friends at Screen Crush. I kind of want to talk to you guys about it, why you saw solo interviews from an Emergency Awesome, Boba Talks, and our friend Jenna from Face Hero, whereas New Rockstars and Screen Crush were kind of together. I think that was just a happy accident. I think what happened is James Gunn planned to talk to these 5 outlets, and then when we were all in the Zoom waiting room, my time was supposed to go from 12:40 to 12:50, and Ryan's time was supposed to go from 12:50 to 1 o'clock. And then Ryan's co-host was Heather Antos, who's an amazing comic artist and publisher who's friends with Ryan. And she was going to join him, and she was in the waiting room already. And I think either James Gunn or his people were like, hey, I know all of these names. Why don't we just do it at the same time? Ended up being kind of inconvenient for me and Ryan, because part of the reason why these junkets are valuable to creators like us is so that we can get exclusives. And at first I was kind of like, oh, I didn't have a chance to strategize with Ryan. If I knew Ryan would have been in the room, I would have texted my man and I would have been like, okay, I'll ask Darkseid, you ask about the Nazi world. And, there's kind of a standard practice among us in junkets to where when we know if it's going to be me and Brandon Davis or me and Joe from Screen Rant, we'll try to strategize to make the most out of all of our scoops collectively. But there is one, I won't name them. There's one entertainment reporter who refuses to do that. Who refuses. They're like, no, I'm good. Anyway, I get it. No shame in the game. Get your scoops wherever you can. But I personally believe a rising tide lifts all ships. But none of the people I just mentioned is that person. And I also strategically just now didn't name 6 people who I could have named. So you can roll the dice on who you think it is. Play your shot in the dark. Anyway, it actually ended up working out great, because what happened was Ryan and I talked to each other on the phone afterwards, and we were just kind of talking shop for a while, and I could pick his brain on stuff. And we're like, why don't we just both share the interview, and we could make these other videos around it that kind of puts our personal takes around it. And then that being really great, because we both got longer watch time, and it was kind of effectively a collab between the 2 channels that I think helped both of us in a way.
I know from looking in the comments, there was 1,000 comments that are like, whoa, Screen Crush and New Rockstars collab.
And it made me want to do more of these, to be honest. And it was just a reminder that I think a lot of people who follow YouTubers feel like we're in competition with each other, when in fact, due to the very evil YouTube algorithm, one good thing about it is that it actually helps us all out.
Yes.
And it encourages collaboration and referencing each other and appearing on each other's channels. And while we think, based off of the old media world, that exclusivity is the value, really collaboration is the value, because people who watch each other channels are more likely to watch those other channels due to the recommendation algorithm and not pick their one favorite and not watch any of the others.
I'd be interested to hear from our live audience. Like, obviously, this is a self-selection bias here if you're watching a Breakroom live stream. But, like, when it comes to when Superman comes out or when Gen V episodes release or whatever, any kind of property that you're interested into, what is your breakdown strategy? Because I know from reading comments, there are people that watch every single breakdown that is put out on a property they like.
Yeah.
Right? Like when Fantastic Four comes out, they go to every single channel and they watch every single breakdown. There are other people that just have personal preferences. I like this host or this channel or whatever. There's other people that it's like, well, when I get served it, whoever that happens to be that gets served, right? I'd be interested to know how people kind of determine their breakdown diet. So
and I assume some people have preferences. I watch these 3 channels, but not that 4th one.
Yeah.
Or they have their list of favorites. But generally, with the kind of content we make, we're really all reacting to the same big popular IP. So if you like that big popular IP, you're probably going to watch a lot of us.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, any one YouTuber's competition is not another YouTuber. Their competition is another way people could spend their time on another platform or by doing things like exercising or reading while not consuming content on YouTube. So like when, if you were to ask me what's New Rockstars competition, I'm not going to tell you, Film Theorist or Screen Crush or Heavy Spoilers or any of these channels. They're our friends and we need them to succeed.
That's right. You know who the real competition is, Eric? Sleep.
Sleep.
Okay? And God damn it, before my job is done here at New Rockstars, we will defeat sleep. Okay?
Yeah, and honestly, one of the best days for us on YouTube was when Ian and Anthony came back to Smosh, because it meant that like, people who love Smosh are going to now be using YouTube even more to see their favorite stars on that platform. It's not like people are going to be spending less time watching New Rockstars as a result of that. In fact, our viral videos are more likely to show up in the recommendation algorithm of their videos. So it's a good thing. And if Mr. Beast ever leaves YouTube, it's going to be a dark day for us at New Rockstars. If Ian and Anthony get another feud, it's going to be another dark day at New Rockstars. If like, when Matt Pat walked away from Film Theorist, I was like, oh no. But thank God he left behind such an amazing team there. And Film Theorist, Game Theorist, they're all doing really well. That's good for New Rockstars. Yes. Our competition is not other channels on YouTube. And I'm rooting for every other YouTuber, unless they're problematic assholes who are making shitty AI slop or whatever it is. But none of the channels I mentioned so far are ones doing that.
No.
Anyway, okay, so I just want to give you guys an insight to all that. But some of the let's talk about some of the industry drama that's happening this week. So James Gunn is co-head of DC Studios with Peter Safran. James Gunn does the creative work. Peter Safran is his longtime producing partner who's produced things like the Conjuring movies, the Annabelle films, the Aquaman films for DC, and has been very successful. Aquaman was the highest grossing DC movie ever, I think.
Yep.
And was able, through that friendship with James Gunn that he's had since 2001, the two of them were picked by David Zaslav to be the co-heads of DC Studios. And along with Pam and Mike, who run the Warner Brothers film division, they both report up into David Zaslav, who is the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery. That is like an AT&T venture. Now, David Zaslav has been a controversial figure for a number of reasons, from the decisions to basically cut and run for movies that they've already invested in, from the Batgirl movie to the Warner Brothers Coyote movie.
Yes, he also pays himself $30 to $60 million a year.
Did take a pay cut, I believe, but from what to what really is a question there. But he's made no secret, really, that he has been looking to sell Warner Brothers. Yeah. So when you sell a studio as big as Warner Brothers, you got to think back to when Fox sold to Disney, right? That was for about $72 billion back in 2018. Rupert Murdoch decided to sever Fox's film and television properties, sell to Disney, which was then CEO'd by Bob Iger at the time. And basically what that means is there's certain other elements of Fox, like Fox Sports, Fox News, that are separately retained, but everything that was part of 20th Century Studios, that includes Avatar, the Alien universe, the Predator universe,
Die Hard,
Die Hard, The Simpsons, all the TV,
the FX network,
networks, all of that is now owned by Disney, but it's still a studio that's operating under its own kind of leadership, but Disney is kind of controlling all of it. So that's what would happen to Warner Brothers here. This has been talked about for the past couple weeks now, that the reason why Zaslav wants to do that is he's beholden to shareholders, and anybody who owns stock in Warner Brothers wants to cash in from a big pricey sale from someone who has a lot of money. Now, who has a lot of money right now in the media industry? Tech has all the money. The Apples of the world, the Netflixes of the world, the Skydances that are controlled by Oracle and the Ellisons.
Yes, Amazon. Yeah.
Yes. And then you may have seen New Rockstars videos talk about how in the past summer, there was a whole acquisition of Paramount by Skydance. Paramount is a classic movie studio that's in Hollywood. Skydance is another studio that was owned by the Ellisons. And when we talk about the Ellisons, we talk about Larry Ellison, who is the founder of Oracle. Larry Ellison cameoed in Iron Man 2, along with Elon Musk and a bunch of other tech jackasses. Larry Ellison, if you watched The Dropout on Hulu, that's the story of Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos. He was an early funder or backer of Theranos.
So he's never been wrong.
He's never been wrong. His son is David Ellison, and he also has a daughter who's very invested.
Megan Ellison,
who oversees Annapurna, I believe. So they're trying to get their hands in Hollywood. So David Ellison is in charge of Skydance. Skydance bought Paramount over the summer, and the FCC merged it, approved this merger. We talked about this when we did our whole South Park versus Trump video.
Yeah.
So Skydance and the Ellisons already control Paramount, which is a major studio that oversees the Mission Impossible films, the Transformers films,
Star Trek.
Yes, Star Trek. They were part of they're also connected with CBS and Viacom.
Yeah. They own Nickelodeon and MTV.
Paramount Plus. Hey Arnold. You know, all your classic Nickelodeon stuff. Comedy Central,
SpongeBob.
MTV, The Challenge, Survivor. All these things are part of the same studio that now David Ellison oversees. Well, that's not enough for them, Zach, because now they want Warner Brothers.
Maybe, yes.
Maybe.
And supposedly they've put in a couple offers that were rejected, lowballing. You know, we're not going to get into the dollars and cents mergers and acquisition of it all, but I think it is interesting. And like, why does any of this matter? Well, because these studios make the things that we love, the things that we watch, whether that's streaming series, broadcast series, and films, right? And even you get more specific, Warner Brothers owns DC Comics.
Yeah.
So if you read a Batman or a Superman or a Wonder Woman comic, that is a part of this deal potentially, much like Disney owns Marvel publishing as well, right?
Yep. It affects who is willing to give James Gunn a longer leash to make whatever projects he wants to make. Right now, James Gunn and Peter Safran have a kind of like, I don't want to say full independence because they still report up into David Zaslav, but if that changes, if they now have to report to someone like David Ellison, whatever mood David Ellison is in that day could determine whether or not we get a second season of Lanterns or something like that, or whether we have to have a Batman movie come out every year versus every 2 years at a higher quality.
Yes. Now, maybe I think like there are upsides and downsides, and also like Paramount Skydance is not the only suitor for Warner Brothers. There's been reports about Netflix potentially buying them, about Microsoft potentially buying them. Anybody that's out there right now has been Comcast, which is NBC Universal, maybe even Amazon, Apple. Everybody has been mentioned at some point. But let's talk about like upsides and downsides in general, right? And it's hard to not knowing who is going to buy them to know all the specifics. But like in general, though things have improved over the last year or two, most streaming services are not profitable yet. Right?
With the exception of Netflix.
Yeah. And part of this is the cable business model was extremely profitable for decades, right? And businesses like Warner Brothers Discovery that owns HBO and TNT and TBS and CNN, and businesses like Paramount that was Viacom, the previously mentioned Nickelodeon, MTV, Comedy Central, all of that, right? Like they made tons of money because anybody that ever had to pay a cable bill, including paying for lots of channels you didn't even watch, knows that like those things printed cash for a long time. Well, as people have cut the cord, right? Like your $150 a month cable bill has been replaced by a couple $12.99 or $14.99 a month streaming services, right? And net less revenue, right? And especially as streaming services have high churn rates. So it's like once you've watched Wednesday season 2, you're like, oh, screw off Netflix for a couple months or whatever, right? Whereas cable did not have that. Cable was really hard to unsubscribe from. And just because you're no longer watching college football on ESPN, oh, now I'm going to watch these Comedy Central shows or whatever, right? Like it was stickier than this model. One of our sponsors today is Skims. Skims recently started making underwear for men, and I figured I'd try it out. They're ridiculously comfortable. Okay, like truly, I always thought of underwear as just being like, functional, something you have to wear. I had never really experienced it to be super comfortable. My bar for good underwear was just, not painful, not distracting. Then I got a few pairs of the stretch boxer briefs. Look at these things right there. This is in like kind of a nice light blue. We got them in gray. We get the boxer briefs from Skims, and they're truly some of the most comfortable underwear I've ever worn. They're lightweight and sleek. You get that perfect balance between keeping everything in place, while also making you feel like you're wearing nothing at all. These are extremely light, smooth. Truly, my only complaint is I wish I'd been wearing these through the hot, sticky summer. It would have been nice to have some smoothness, but better late than never. Get yourself some of these Skims underwear for men. Shop Skims Men at skims.com. Let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show, The Breakroom, in the drop-down menu that follows. Again, that's Skims, SKIMS.com. Because as the decline of cable has rapidly advanced and the profitability of streaming has not commensurately risen, right? A lot of these companies are not at like a sustainable place, right? That have such a big investment in cable, especially, right? Comcast also with like, they own NBC, USA, some other cable networks, but they are a different business. But these two businesses, Paramount Viacom and Warner Brothers Discovery, have been really troubled for like the last 5-10 years as cable has declined. And that's why Paramount has already been sold and Warner Brothers might be sold. There's also some bad deals. Like, did Warner Brothers and Discovery need to be merged?
Right. A lot of it is just studio mismanagement, at least on the Warner Brothers side. There was a lot of just the constant rebranding of what was previously a blue chip value brand of HBO from they took out HBO from the name, they made it Max, all this stuff.
There was an HBO Go in there for a moment, then it was just Max, now it's back to HBO.
There was separate divisions of the company that reflected this. I
will say on the Paramount side, I mean, anybody that was a fan of the heyday of cable in the 90s and 2000s, they let all their channels go to shit. Ever tried to watch MTV in the last 5 years? Yeah. There's nothing there. It's ridiculousness, 23 and a half hours a day. And speaking as somebody who's related to somebody that had a show on a Viacom channel, right? Terribly mismanaged, didn't convert to streaming well. Paramount Plus is one of the smaller of the big streamers because it doesn't feel as essential. They didn't do as good a job building up that streamer as Netflix and others did.
I used to work on a CBS talk show, and I can say from personal experience that there was a culture at CBS that hated the internet and viewed YouTube as the competition. And so it was so hard to find clips of anything CBS on YouTube or on any streaming platform, so that if there's a really popular show on Comedy Central, be it Key and Peele or Detroiters or something like that, it's impossible to find it, with the exception of there's certain things like The Daily Show where you can find clips of it. But a lot of these shows, there's no streamer that you can go to. Or they'll put a whole season up way later. Yeah. And it's just a frustrating thing that HBO smartly, back when it was well run, didn't have that problem. If you subscribe to HBO, the streaming app, the HBO Go or whatever it is, you can watch everything immediately. Yes. So an upside of all this is maybe all that bullshit gets fixed and then they merge Paramount Plus with HBO.
Yes, because all of these potential tech buyers of this studio, right, are going to be savvier about this stuff. Yeah. There's also, people have said there's too many streamers right now, right? And there needs to be some consolidation. Ultimately, we need to get to 3 big streaming services or whatever, right? And everybody feels the need to subscribe to all 3. I personally don't subscribe to Paramount Plus. There's been brief windows when I have, but it does not have anything I really feel like I need to watch. I subscribe to all the other ones. But if Paramount Plus and Max merged, well, I'm already subscribed to Max, but I would really feel the need to subscribe to that streamer. And I think there's a lot of people that feel that way. So merging doesn't have to be a terrible thing. Now, for as far as for jobs in the industry, jobs in Los Angeles, and the total volume of content made, there is a big downside there.
Yeah, I think it's all downside other than like having a merged, like kind of a more cable-esque subscription that you have to pay that might be cheaper than both of these together currently.
Yes.
It's all downside other than that.
Since Disney bought Fox, there are fewer people that work at Fox. And also there are fewer movies made by Fox.
Yeah,
right?
Fox is basically just kept up there as a facade of a brand just for the most valuable franchises like Alien and Predator. But Fox used to
Avatar.
make... And Avatar.
Yeah.
They used to make a ton of other movies in addition to that. They used to experiment now. And now, like, there's this weird cultural divide where, like, I just feel like the amount of money Disney puts into promoting Tron Ares, which is an original Disney franchise that they had from Tron Legacy, versus like the amount of money they're spending on Predator Badlands, which is a Fox thing. I mean, I just think Avatar is obviously going to get a lot of promotion because it's fucking Avatar, but there used to be a ton of things that would get made by Fox that Disney has just clearly deprioritized.
Because they are not an independent operation, right? Like, yeah, the incentives are a little weird. They used to, right? And part of this too, we talk a lot about the state of the theatrical experience, right? If you go to a movie theater website in your area, because I know this because I just did this yesterday, right? There are just fewer movies getting released now than there were 5 or 10 years ago. And so you will see Back to the Future re-release, random, there's a lot of like, and some of this is good. Like it's fun to go to see Back to the Future on a big screen. I'm not complaining about that. Or like anime releases that wouldn't have gotten major theatrical distribution 15 years ago now, like Chainsaw Man this weekend or Demon Slayer a couple weeks ago or whatever, right? Like that's not a bad thing. But a big part of that is because Fox used to make 30 theatrical films a year, and now they make like 6.
Yeah.
Right? And if Warner Brothers, which is a big movie studio, combines with Paramount, another somewhat big movie studio, right? Does 2 studios that each used to make 15 movies a year that were big releases, does that become a total of 15 movies a year or 20 movies a year, right? We're never going to stop getting DC movies and Harry Potter movies and some of these other big franchises, but like, do we stop getting everything else?
Yeah. I think also, let's call a spade a spade. These studios now are under higher restrictions to properly pay their talent as a result of the 2023 strikes. And then what we are really seeing right now is that they are opting to make fewer things because they don't want to have to pay their talent as much to do it. And instead, they're in the business of acquiring the licenses to things that have already been made for cheaper, and those deals have already been paid out their talent to make it, and they just acquire the distribution rights, and that's why you're seeing re-releases of Back to the Future and Taylor Swift type of deals. They're making fewer things because things cost more because these labor union deals have required them to pay them fairly, and now that it's harder for they don't want to have to pay people fairly, they're going to make less stuff and chalk it up to the laws of economics and supply and demand when it's bullshit. They have forgotten that to make money, you got to spend money. They feel like they can just get clever with their Hollywood economics and just do a clever acquisition, and that's a business they're in, rather than doing what has been historically been the deal of Hollywood, is a patronage model by studios to invest in something they believe in. And yes, that requires risk, but stop being so fucking risk averse. Find a creator you believe in and look at what great things Ryan Coogler and Christopher Nolan are doing.
Yes, and to their credit, right, this year, this is an interesting time for Warner Brothers to be getting sold. And again, it's a big business that it has like gaming and TV and all this kind of shit. But their movie studio is coming off like this epic hot streak, right, that included big budget hits like Minecraft movie, F1, which they co-produced with Apple, Superman, right? And then like lesser movies that also became giant hits like Sinners, Weapons, the Conjuring film, right? Like there was some kind of Mickey 17 was in there, and there was a few movies that didn't hit, but they had this great year, and I think they're still the #1 box office studio. They won't be. Avatar will come out, and Disney will end up winning.
I think Universal might have beaten it
with Jurassic,
with
and
Jurassic,
a couple other things.
And or I could be wrong about this. Because Wicked for Good's going to be coming out in a few weeks.
But they took some risks this year, and some of the risks paid off. They also did One Battle After Another, which has not made a ton of money, but
it
like,
could win Best Picture.
Could win Best Picture, right? And got great reviews. So like, it's an interesting time. They're in a good creative place, if not. And HBO is always good, right? HBO has consistently made culture-defining hit shows.
Yeah, I would say HBO, I think, has a promising next 6 months. Warner Brothers doesn't have a movie that's going to release until that Emerald Fennell movie in February.
Wuthering Heights,
Yeah, we're not going to get a holiday
They don't have a single Thanksgiving or Christmas release, which is wild.
Look, we'll have Supergirl in June.
Yeah.
We'll have like a probably promising second half of the year, but this is a weird, dark, like dry spell we're about to hit at Warner Brothers as a studio. And I think part of it is because Zaslav is like looking for a sell right now.
And part of that is because these studios don't make enough movies, right?
Yeah. But HBO, interestingly to hear James Gunn in all 5 of the YouTube spots that he did this week, brought in George R.R. Martin to talk about Salvation Run. Now, yes, Salvation Run was part of a pitch from George R.R. Martin, but it's popular not because of George R.R. Martin. Like, this was like before Game of Thrones, the TV series was big. When he was pitching that, he was just a popular novelist of the Game of Thrones novels and the spin-off novellas. So it's weird how much he was certain to bring up George R. R. Martin. I was like, is James Gunn trying to like appeal to anyone at Warner Brothers right now to be like, I'm going to plug this guy's name, knowing that there are 2 George R. R. Martin HBO series that are coming, Night of the Seven Kingdoms and the 3rd season of House of the Dragon, next year. Like, it just felt like a HBO-minded plug that James Gunn really felt was important to get in there.
He's pushing for the home team there.
It really did feel like it was like something that he strategized with Peter Safran or Zaslav.
Well, and it's also
Casey Bloys or somebody.
Timely. There was that news coming out that Warner Discovery has like trademarked
Salvation Run.
And like gotten like licensing and like merchandising and stuff like that going. Do you think that could be a show? Do you think that would be a film?
I think he's thinking of it as a film.
Don't you think? I trust them. I'm sure it'll be fun. Doesn't it conceptually feel just like the Suicide Squad?
It kind of does. It kind of
does. Is it just another way to do the Suicide Squad?
But
maybe with bigger names, like you could do a Joker and whatever.
Or kind of like Battle Royale or something like that. Like if they're
which I guess is a little different than the concept of Suicide Squad. You don't need a Argus conceit there, but
or there's no mission that they're going on. They're just kind of like in a prison scenario. I ultimately think if because just to be clear where we're at with this sell, Ted Sarandos, head of Netflix, has said he's not interested in buying HBO. They're not interested in any acquisition. They're proud enough of what they're making. Their Stranger Things is their Bridgertons, their Squid Games.
Though the one thing Netflix has not been successful at is like cross-platform successful IP, right? They, other than Stranger Things,
Squid Game
and Bridgerton and Squid Game, right? Like, and hey, those are 3 really big things. And part of that is the largesse of Netflix allows hits to really blow up. But like, they've never had a superhero hit, right? And they don't own any superhero IP. They would love to have something like a Harry Potter or even a Star Trek, right? Something like that they don't currently have.
Yeah.
And especially something that can not only be a hit on their streaming platform, but like sell t-shirts and lunchboxes and action figures, right? That's what they've really struggled to do.
Apple, through another episode of The Town, their VP of content has said not interested in buying HBO, so that's not going to happen. It really does seem like it is only going to be the Ellisons through Paramount or Comcast, which Comcast owns NBC, Universal, all that stuff. According to this post by another entertainment reporter, people inside Paramount Skydance say that David Ellison, who's advised by his father, Larry Ellison, is reluctant to pay more than $25 a share for Warner Brothers as this buyout drama continues. There was a latest offer as of Wednesday, which was a 3rd rejection from David Zaslav, $23.50 per share. So they're talking about maybe a hostile takeover of Warner Brothers, which is like, if you watch Succession, you kind of understand what a hostile takeover it is. It's where you just announce a very, very high stock value share that you're willing to buy the company at, that like the shareholders demand the head of the company to consider that. And it's basically that the board of directors, through basic like deals that they have with the shareholders, they'll be forced to force that CEO to resign if they don't do that. So that's basically what happened in season 2 of Succession, where Sandy was trying to do a hostile takeover of Waystar Royco. You should know at that point. But it sounds like, according to this tweet, that Comcast isn't really in the picture because of regulatory blocks. And what that means is, like, the FCC could, on a whim, decide, this is too much of an antitrust violation. This company's too big.
Well, especially because that would be two network owners combining, NBC and CBS. Right.
And that affects the FCC broadcast licenses, whereas Warner Brothers does not have an FCC broadcast license. That you don't have, like, the Warner Brothers networks include the Turner-owned stations that you get in broadcast packages, and you have HBO and stuff like that.
And you're allowed to own a bunch of cable.
And you can own as many of those.
Actually,
really
I think I said CBS. There's no word about Paramount buying Comcast. I misspoke there. There was no two networks.
It was rumored to be out there, but now people are shutting it down. In fact, people are saying that it might have been thrown out there from David Zaslav to try to drive up the price that Ellison was offering.
And we should say, we're not going to go down this road too far, but, like, also the Spectre, both Comcast and Warner Brothers own cable news channels, MSNBC, which I think has just been renamed to MS now, and CNN, neither of which is favored by the current political administration in the United States. And there is some sense that that administration has shown a willingness to punish people and not allow deals to close with people they don't favor. Now, the administration is also very friendly with the Ellisons.
Yes.
The Ellisons.
And in fact, Trump just said in some interview when someone asked him about this, that he likes the idea of the Ellisons buying Warner Brothers.
Any word on how many seats in the new White House ballroom the Ellisons have paid for?
I don't know. I think Tim Pool likes to put his feet up. Like, it's insane the way this is all playing out, to be honest. But I do think that, like, what Trump is signaling there is that he won't use the FCC to block that merger, but he might block it if Comcast
if somebody else.
If NBC, who owns MSNBC, does. And what's also crazy about this is, like, this all comes after CBS settled its lawsuit with Trump, or rather Paramount settled the lawsuit that he had against 60 Minutes. A lot of people have left senior news division positions at CBS over this, and then they appointed, what's her name, Barry Weiss, to oversee CBS News as its president, who has some. You can watch the John Oliver episode on that. I won't go into it.
I guess, like, zooming back out as we get our heads fully up our industry asses here, like, if I am a fan of DC films, let's just say that, right? I'm a fan of DC films, or I love Sinners and I would like more movies like Sinners and Weapons and The Conjuring in my life, or whatever, right? Like, what is the ultimate positive outcome here? Is it that studio? Because it's also not a great outcome if that studio keeps being not very solvent. And they have this giant debt load from when they combined with Discovery, also David Zaslav's fault, right? That, like, keeps them from probably being able to invest in some of the properties they own to the degree that they would like to, because they have so much debt. That's the big reason they shelved the Batgirl film and took a tax write-off, is because they didn't have the money to do otherwise, right? And they've sold off, like, Looney Tunes movies and all this kind of stuff. So the current path is not the best one for the fan of the product. But what new path do you think would be the best? I say any path that lets HBO be untouched. Yeah. Nobody fuck with HBO. Let them do their thing.
But that's not going to happen. HBO is probably one of those valuable parts of this deal.
But don't you think, even if Paramount buys them, if Comcast, if the Saudis buy it, they understand the quality of the HBO brand, the hit rate, the administration there, led by Casey Bloys and his team, have, like, the best taste in the biz. Let's not mess with that.
Oh, sure. I do think that kind of editorial independence will be maintained for at least a short term. But I think ultimately it would mean fewer things get greenlit, fewer shows like The Pit or Task or
The Chair Company,
or even Lanterns, Night of the Seven Kingdoms. But you'll still see that Harry Potter show come out every year. I guarantee you that will still be happening.
Today's episode of Breakroom is brought to you by Prize Picks. A lot of us here are football fans and have strong opinions on which players or teams are the strongest. And while it's great to be right around the water cooler, being right on Prize Picks can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Want to pick more on Josh Allen's pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns because you're a member of the Bills Mafia? Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup, only on Prize Picks. Also, you can follow other Prize Picks players directly in the app and copy their lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you like. Hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. Prize Picks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick, safe, and secure deposits into your account this football season. Download the app today and use code BREAKROOM to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code BREAKROOM to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right.
I think it's bad for the creators and it's bad for the fans if something like this happens. And that's why I think the WGA has lined up against this possible.
Well, yeah, we should speak to that. So in general, if two studios combine, that means there is one fewer studio in the world. That is one fewer potential buyer for your film, for your show, for whatever. And that's not good. You want a bunch of buyers competing against each other. You have lots of options as a seller, as a creator, if you're Damon Lindelof, if you're Shonda Rhimes, if you're whoever, right? That way you can find the best fit and also find the most money and all that kind of stuff. So if there's fewer, that becomes a monopsony, not to be confused with a monopoly. A monopoly, there's only one seller. Monopsony, there's too few buyers. Neither of which are great for the end consumer. But yeah, agreed there. But I do think that's why it's interesting when things like Microsoft are floated.
Yeah.
They also have a ton of money. They don't currently they obviously have a big video game division. They just bought Activision Blizzard, which was a whole headache. They have lots of tech outlays, but this would be an interesting direction for them to go. I think it's why we haven't talked a lot about Amazon. Now, Amazon heavily invested in streaming. They bought MGM, which was kind of like a decrepit, half-eaten corpse of a studio several years ago. Really only has the Bond franchise and a couple lesser IPs. That has not been the most successful. There have been 0 Bond movies made since they bought the studio, and hasn't been the best transition for them. So would they want to take another crack at buying a big legacy studio?
I don't think they're interested. That's why you're not hearing Bezos or anybody weigh in on this deal. They have their studio. I think they want to focus on investing in that. Their streaming service is doing pretty well. I mean, they have a lot of series that are coming out through that streaming series, through that service. Microsoft, I hadn't heard about Microsoft being interested.
Also, the Saudis are getting floated. I think anytime any money thing is brought up, it's the Saudis will swing in with their oil money.
I mean, best case scenario is that some ghost of Christmas future visits David Zaslav and everybody who owns stock in Warner Brothers and says, this isn't, just try to just make this as valuable and stay a separate thing and not be as interested in money. That's best case scenario. So if anybody knows any ghosts, have them go haunt Zaslav. Second option, a buyer either Netflix or maybe not Netflix, but Microsoft or Apple. But it's just Apple is uninterested, and Apple they're trying to build up their own property before they buy other stuff. They're very proud of their studio, Severance, now Pluribus. They're going to keep doing that kind of thing. I don't think they're going to buy Warner Brothers, but I think the reason people were floating Apple is kind of a best case scenario as a company that has a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
But I don't see an upside. And I know a lot of you aren't going to see the difference here, but I'm telling you, pay attention to this if you're at all interested in the media industry, because it will affect what type of stories you're able to see and whether the best and brightest do want to go work for companies like this. Because there's a reason why Christopher Nolan stopped working with Warner Brothers and went to Universal. And over time, if this continues, there's not going to be many places for Christopher Nolan to go find a home.
There'll always be a home for Christopher Nolan.
I guess it's not Christopher Nolan that I'm worried about. It's the future Christopher Nolan.
Yes, it's the Zach Kreger level people of the world who are ready to do big stuff, but they need a good home for that big stuff.
I want my son's generation to have his versions of Christopher Nolan and Ryan Coogler and Bong Joon-ho that keeps him inspired by the arts. And if we keep going in this direction, he's not going to have that.
Well, I guess the counter argument would be, will that just be Neon and A24 and other indies? And it's like, your son can be inspired, but your son will need to be inspired for under $10 million budget.
Yeah, and not even A24. I mean, A24 has had a bunch of like bombs.
Hey, they're making an Elden Ring movie. Isn't that the wildest fucking thing you've ever heard? A24 is making an Elden Ring movie?
I guess our greatest hope is like where we are right now, Zach, is YouTube. Is that YouTube can continue to be a place with like enough Mr. Beasts and Smoshes on it that keep people maybe releasing their content here, and maybe that could be valuable enough to have it.
Should we buy Warner Brothers?
With what money, Zach?
No, come on. Let's hear. I can find.
We can find some blue chews.
I got a box of tissues. There's a VHS of the original Jurassic Park. We'll find it. We can find it.
Skeleton was our CEO. He sold his body parts to try to keep the lights on here.
Here's what I'll say. It can be tough, and I am the worst at this. Like overly watching box office results. Right? And I think like our brain wants to go there both because it's a quantifiable way to judge art, right? Which we shouldn't be quantifying. We should just be like, I like this art or not. But we want to be like, this art was $1 billion. This art was 500 million and this whatever, right? But second, there is this need. I need the kind of art I love to be sustainable and to keep getting more and more of it, right? And then fans of comic book movies have been eating good for the last 2 decades, right? And we want that to keep being the case. Of course, we always want the movies to be good and we want them to get better. But like the fact that they are profitable means they will be a big part of our lives going forward. Like in that same way, we want these studios to be sustainable, to be healthy. I still want to be able to go see a giant spectacle movie. You know, I'm a weirdo who paid to see The Smashing Machine on IMAX, but I also want to go see Top Gun Maverick in IMAX. And I want to see a giant scale, spectacle kind of a thing that Hollywood does so well. And to do that, you need a giant studio, right? And so we need these giant studios to find a way to survive, whatever that looks like. I also, like Greta Gerwig and Elizabeth Olsen, I want to see movies in movie theaters, and I don't want a future that is streaming only.
But I will say, just based off of the latest IMAX announcements of where things are, I was honestly encouraged by the fact that IMAX is giving basically the month of July to Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey and not to Spider-Man Brand New Day. Nothing against Spider-Man Brand New Day. I'm obviously super excited for that. But is it a movie that we're going to need to see in IMAX? Or is The Odyssey the movie that deserves to have the profits and the success story headlines from IMAX special limited releases or special viewing experience releases? Because Spider-Man's going to make its money anyway.
I'll go see Odyssey and IMAX. I'll go see Spider-Man Brand New Day in Dolby, and I'll see neither of them in 4DX because I want to maintain my spinal health.
Yeah, I think we need directors like Christopher Nolan setting the tone and inspiring studios to make bolder choices and other directors to make movies the way he makes them. Rather than just like, we need to find other movies like Spider-Man, let's find ways to make movies that adapt multi-thousand-year-old stories into huge-scale epics that could make $1 billion.
Yeah. And like, again, to the credit of Warner Brothers, they made a special kind of deal with Ryan Coogler. It's been talked about a lot. You need a big movie studio to be able to do that. Yeah. Right? Like, even an artist of the quality and the reputation of Ryan Coogler, like, Netflix couldn't have done that with him.
Yeah, Coogler couldn't have even made that with Neon or A24.
Right. You need a major studio that is still invested in the theatrical business. So all that is to say, we don't know what's going to happen. Maybe nothing happens, of course. Are people in the chat asleep? Are they engaged?
No, we got actually a lot of questions from chat. So maybe we should just take all of these questions.
Great.
Marvel Pirate, 9 months sub, says, I love Zach's fresh haircut.
I just got this yesterday. How'd you notice?
So fresh and so smooth. I would love to see more collaboration episodes with Screen and Phase Zero, but do we think that if the Paramount acquisition goes through, would that mean more risk of losing James Gunn, Matt Reeves, or John Oliver getting canceled? Perhaps yes. Perhaps yes, especially John Oliver as a Paramount property that is most critical.
Or Warner Brothers, just property. It's on HBO, right?
Yeah. But did that stop South Park?
No.
Arguably, no.
I think he's also, the good thing about John Oliver is he's also incredibly popular. He wins a lot of Emmys and he gets good ratings. And I think it's harder to cancel something like that, right? Like, one thing that aided the brief cancellation of Jimmy Kimmel is like late night ratings are down, right? Like he wouldn't have had to go through that if he was the number one show on TV, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Kessel Lumen says, is there a Night of the Seven Kingdom trailer breakdown coming soon? I think Eric mentioned it in a sneak peek episode last week. No, we're not doing a breakdown of the trailer for Night of the Seven Kingdoms, but we will be covering the show when it's out.
Yeah.
We're not always going to do a breakdown of a trailer of everything, just because if we break down a trailer, that trailer itself has to be an important moment. I know in the past, sometimes we would take at-bats and swings at like breaking down a trailer. Sometimes we would do that just to test the interest level of whether or not we're going to cover a show episode by episode, but we know we're already going to cover it. We didn't feel like the trailer itself was that splashy.
Yeah.
So I got to tickle my throat. Straight Whisperer says, I need your input on Marvel Entertainment accounts on social media posting 3 times about Wanda. Or are they soft launching marketing for Vision Quest? Honestly, I think what they're doing is they're just seeing what's kind of trending right now. And
she's always big on social, right? Yeah.
Sarah Achadorian back. Saying, do these guys have any ideas about what Sage's plan is for The Boys Season 5? I know we heard from Jess and Gina already, and I'll redirect you back to them and their social media accounts because I've not been watching The Boys.
I've not finished the current season either.
Or I've watched The Boys. I've not seen Gen V. I started watching Season 2 and I ran out of time. Been watching on it, but I plan to catch up. Gotta Go Bam on Twitch says, somewhat unrelated, but that's okay. But was wondering if any of you have seen Mike Flanagan's Life of Chuck. I watched it for the first time the other night and is probably my favorite movies this year. Did you watch this?
Oh, no, I haven't seen it yet. It kind of came and went from theaters, and I don't believe it's currently available to stream.
I think this is a Tom Hiddleston one.
Yes.
Yeah, did not see it.
And I believe it, is it a Stephen King adaptation?
It is a Stephen King adaptation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard wild shit about it.
I've heard it contains multitudes. H. Basso 13 says Warner Brothers had submitted Superman for awards consideration across multiple top categories, including Best Picture, Director, and Actor. The studio is also backing the film in key supporting craft categories throughout award season. I'm not surprised. This is pretty common. Disney did the same thing for Avengers Endgame.
What do you think?
We'll be doing the same for Fantastic Four, I'm sure.
Obviously, a lot of the technical categories, your visual effects, your editings, and stuff like that, it could be a contender there. Is there an acting category you think it could have a chance at?
Nicholas Hoult as Lex.
Best supporting?
Best supporting.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a big category this year. I mean, just from one battle after another, it's going to get like 3 of those.
Yes. And unfortunately, our big superhero franchises do not get much acting love.
Yeah.
Ever.
Have they ever? Angela Bassett for Black Panther Wakanda
Heath
Forever?
Ledger.
Heath Ledger
Got a
won.
win, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the only win?
The only win was Heath. Yeah. But Marvel's never won for an acting category.
No.
Yeah. I mean, definitely deserved it. Morbius deserved it. Jared Leto should have won.
It's Morbin time.
Yeah. Dakota Johnson was robbed. Chep City coming back with another super chat saying, just a huge thanks for what you guys do. TGIF. Thanks, Chep.
Thank you.
Christian, speaking of Leto, apparently Leto will be going on to ruin the Pacific Rim franchise. How does Jared Leto still have his career?
God.
I don't get it. What happened? What timeline are we living in where he just like won the Biff Tannen jackpot?
He must be so good in a room with producers. Because here's the other thing.
Way.
It's not even like you can make an argument like there's some like older movie stars, a little long in the tooth, maybe haven't had a hit in a while, but their like old school track record was so good. But like what movie in which he was the lead star, not a supporting character, can you think of that's like a giant hit or a universally beloved movie?
Dallas Buyers Club.
He was not the star of that.
Agreed. Just won an Oscar for it, you know.
He had a couple of Fincher movies, Panic Room and Fight Club, obviously. But again, he's the 3rd or 5th lead in those movies. Like, what's the best starring Jared Leto movie?
Yeah, you're right. 3rd or 4th lead for Blade Runner 2049, which might be the highest quality movie he's been in, other than Dallas Buyers Club.
Yeah. But that's Gosling and then Ford and then him. And then maybe actually Robin Wright might be in that movie more than him. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. I don't know, man.
It's weird that they're pushing it. Like, and now to some degree, Glenn Powell, Timothy Chalamet, and Austin Butler can't star, and Michael B. Jordan can't star in every movie. So you have to keep going.
You gotta
and
call
they got this cadre of tall English and Australian guys that are all named Colum or whatever, right? Colum Turner and the dudes from Challengers and whatever, right? Like they kind of slot those into some of these movies. Maybe they didn't want to do a Pacific Rim movie.
But is Suicide Squad his highest grossing movie?
Oh, you're probably right.
Probably, and that wasn't a major hit, but it still was successful enough. Hey, also Oscar nominated for costume and makeup, I believe, or costume or makeup, one of those. Those grills really with the
damaged.
Yeah. Marvel Pirate asking, how much might we be over freaking out? Is this Paramount acquisition real, or is it more similar to the rumors that the Gators are thinking of hiring Lane Kiffin? Well, Zach, what do you know about that?
That, unfortunately, that rumor is real. I think that he's supposedly like the leader in that. Guys, I don't want to go. I'm in a dark place with Florida football, okay? We can't go down that road. That's what I'll really do Michael Morbio shit right there, okay? Because the blue is not good, okay? I'm about to turn to the red. Oh. Also, we've had the Witching Hour. Hey, shout out. Have you watched the latest Witching Hour video? Jessica Clemens hosted a Candyman video over there.
Check it out. It's so good.
Check it out. It's great.
It's so good. At some point, she goes into an academic setting that completely changed everything in my brain for how I want to do new Rockstars videos.
Yes.
You'll see.
Also, is it worth teasing? Because we still might be weeks and or months away from this. But you've been working on some stuff with editor Joshua, who's in the room right now, and editor John. That's pretty wild.
It's pretty wild. Maybe if you go check out the Deep Dive channel, a community post might clue you in to where we're going next. But to answer the question, yeah, the Paramount acquisition is real. If Bellamy's talking about it, I'm telling you, Warner Brothers released a statement saying we're up for sale. It'd be one thing if this were just rumor, but Warner Brothers wants someone to buy them. So you better pay attention to who is actually going to buy them, because it will affect what your HBO subscription looks like and how much it costs. That's what we're not over freaking out about this. This is going to affect your media diet at some point. So if you care enough to be watching the Breakroom on a Friday afternoon, I'm telling you should care about this. H Basso 13 asking, I know wrong convo. Not a wrong convo. Ask him whatever you want. But some Ben Solo stuff just got released, and wow, Disney messed up by not doing that movie. It sounds great. Oh, is this? Let's see. Is this what Boris tweeted about?
Oh, is there new news about the Ben Solo movie?
Oh, Boris. Yeah, that's what it is.
Do we get a He-Vision?
I guess Soderbergh did release another statement saying that the movie was like fully greenlit and ready to go, and then Disney pulled the plug on it.
What?
Yeah, this is according to, let's see. Well, I guess they're talking about the AP report that Adam Driver gave this week. Yeah, it sounds like it just got further along, and Soderbergh said it would have been really good.
I mean,
I don't know. It's hard to know because who knows what this project would have been in. I don't know what a Steven Soderbergh Star Wars movie looks like.
That's right. And also, no offense to Adam Driver, how many movies has he written or directed, right?
I think Adam Driver has good taste.
Sure.
But he's also a guy who was just a team player enough to make whatever The Rise of Skywalker ended up being. You know, and yeah, there were some great moments in The Rise of Skywalker, but would that have been the movie that would have fixed the Star Wars fandom? I doubt it. I just, as someone who will watch everything Steven Soderbergh and Adam Driver make, I would have watched this. And if it meant more Star Wars movies between where we're at now with The Mandalorian and Grogu and The Rise of Skywalker, yeah, I am longing for whatever that Elseworld would have been.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it was a huge misfire from Bob Iger. Who knows what that would have looked like? It could have been another soloist Star Wars story.
It is a one-sided conversation at this point, in that we're not hearing the other side of like why the studio decided not to move forward.
But I will say, if you compare it to other projects Disney did greenlight, like Tron Ares, I can understand why you feel like there might have been some mismanagement there. I don't know. I don't really know.
What role is Jared Leto going to get in the Star Wars universe? Do they recast Baby Yoda? He's now the new Grogu?
Oh my God. Studio Yee, hold on. I know that name. Saying just call it New Warner Brothers. In reference to you guys buying Warner Brothers. Hey, God, we miss you, Evan. I hope you're doing good, man. We miss you, buddy. But yeah, we should just call it New Warner Brothers. for all the pro DC content we're doing and anti-Marvel
I want
content.
to talk about this. You know, you published an interview you did with James Gunn, and we got so many like shill comments there. Like, how do you feel? You were at the front. You were a charter member of the Marvel Shill Society. You are duly elected president of the Star Wars Shill Union. Mm-hmm. Is it a conflict of interest for you to now be a DC shill?
Oh God, I hope not. Because man, I'm paying dues to all of these.
I know that's and is it? Can you? It's like I guess it's the argument for polyamory that like love. Love is infinite. It's not like me loving this person makes me love you any less. So it's like you can shill as harder over here as over there, right? Like your shilling is unlimited, right?
Sure. I prefer to think of it as an appreciative abundance mindset. That you can like multiple things and you can be okay with other people liking things and that we don't have to pick a side.
We're joking here. None of us have ever received a dime from any of these studios, and we are not shilling. Shilling has such a negative connotation, but it's also like we are also fans, and you can be a fan of a lot of things at the same time, right? Yeah, we've already talked a lot about the shill stuff.
We have. My wife is texting me. Maybe she's saying, "Oh my God, they're at our door." No, she's talking to me about something else. I'm moving houses, so if I'm behind on some of my deep dive work, that's probably why. M. Affy P9. Thank you for your $5 super chat on YouTube. Saying, how do you guys feel about the Ringer Netflix deal? And is that something you guys would be interested if the opportunity arises? We're happy here on YouTube. I'll say that. I love the network of YouTube overall. I love that we have this opportunity to access fans and make our content for free with a whole shit ton of ads on it. Unless you want to support us as a member on the YouTube channel on New Rockstars, and then certain videos are ad-free, or pay for YouTube Premium, and you don't have to worry about that. The thing about Netflix is, hey, we have a lot of friends over at The Ringer, and we talked about Matt Bellamy's podcast. Yeah. That is not part of this Ringer deal. The Ringer deal is referring to the Rewatchables, certain Bill Simmons podcasts, and a few other podcasts, not even our friends of the Ringerverse. Yeah. Van and Jomi and all those guys are not part of that deal. The House of R, our friends Mallory and Joanna are not part of that. Good Hang, the Amy Poehler podcast, even Johnny Bananas Ringer podcast, I don't believe is part of that Netflix deal. It would mean that you have to pay for Netflix. It would mean more money for New Rockstars. So if Ted Sarandos, if you're listening to this and want to pay for New Rockstars, I guess there might be some old New Rockstars videos that we're happy to put on Netflix. But that's not my decision.
It would be interesting. I would want to hear from the audience. And if you're watching this after we've gone live, leave this as a comment. Like, we've had talks with, not Netflix, nobody as big as Netflix, but other non-YouTube platforms, like some fast channels, some like video SVOD services, to use the lingo, right? Would you consume content? Again, this is probably a self-selection thing. If you're watching us on YouTube now, it's probably your preferred platform. But like, do you watch other stuff on other platforms? Like, I don't watch, I've never gone to Tubi to watch something that was originally on YouTube, right? Like Mr. Beast now puts his videos on Tubi as well, or Mark Rober, or some of these big creators. Like, is that something you would watch? Maybe if you're in a doctor's office and they just happen to be playing like a Tubi stream that has Mr. Beast videos, maybe that makes a certain kind of sense. But like, I've always wondered about that. Or have you subscribed to a particular creator's like fast channel or SVOD service or something like that? Right?
Yeah. My guess is that if you're joining us for a Breakroom YouTube channel live stream on a Friday afternoon, or watching this sometime later during the weekend or next week, you're not going to be the kind of person who goes, yes, I would love to watch Bill Simmons in front of a computer laptop on Netflix and pay $22.99 or whatever it is now for that. But there is probably an audience of people who are going to watch Jaws on Netflix and then watch a recommended after show of the Rewatchables of like Jason Concepcion and Mal from however many years ago talking about how great Jaws was. Or I guess Craig and Bill now talking about how great Jaws was. Or you could just, for free, go over to the Deep Dive channel and watch my video.
Hey-o, plug!
He watched me weep about my father. Hey, that's good content to some of you. I'm just saying, like, we'll see. I ultimately think that these deals are going to be good for some, but they're going to be short-lived. I think YouTube will be here forever and ever and ever until some other video streaming platform, be it Tubi or Twitch, want to make a better business model that pays creators as well as YouTube does. I think TikTok, none of these other places have been as profitable, but that might change. I don't know. I hear these horror stories from my friends like Fit Dad CEO and Dave Ogleton and how hard it's been for new creators to break in on YouTube. And if that pattern continues, it could be hard. But the thing is, I don't see any other competitor out there, including you folks over at TikTok and ByteDance, offering as good of a deal and as good of a platform for creators.
I think once Barron Trump gets a hold of that TikTok, guys, then it's a new golden age.
He's so tall. He is so tall. He's so tall. That's all I have to say. He's so tall. He's so tall. All right, Kessel Lumen, another 11-month sub. Thank you. Thanks for answering my question. Looking forward to the breakdowns of the episodes. I assume Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Yeah, we will be breaking down that show. Belta Loda 9, 1 gifted sub. Thank you on Twitch. YouTube, mostly superheroes. Thank you for your $2 super chat. Great job on the spooky studio decor. That was all Jessica Clemens.
Yeah, so do a great job.
Thank you, Jessica, wherever you are. Christian Unpronounceable, $5. Thank you on YouTube. How are you watching us on 2 different platforms at the same time, Christian? Saying $5 or 560 watching. Is that how many we had on YouTube?
Whoa.
Oh, you know what it probably was? We had a thumbnail saying future uncertain, and I bet there were some people who were like, shit, is James Gunn getting fired?
Or is Breakroom shutting down?
I just thought of that now. I was like, uh-oh.
Real quick, Christian Unpronounceable, if you were watching us on Twitch and YouTube at the same time, does that count as Breakroom gooning?
We love our goons. BBX.
Brian's nodding his head.
BBX.
I think it's in disapproval. Now he's doing this.
BBX on Super Chat. $5 on YouTube. Thank you, BBX, saying, I don't think you guys are shills, and that's all that matters.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. And your $5 is in the mail, BBX.
He's shilling for our shill. We also say negative, especially here in the break room. If you saw our video after the Peacemaker finale, we had some negative things to say there.
We were pretty harsh.
Also,
we were real mean to Steve Agee in that episode.
Even on, sometimes even when we are talking about a thing that we mostly like, we point out the flaws, or somebody in the panel might have some negative things to say. I think, you almost never make a breakdown of something you hate.
I have done it before, though.
I've watched those videos, and it's very obvious.
I think with Madam Web, we were pretty harsh on that movie as we broke it down. Ready Player One, I've made no secret of how much I hate that movie. It's Steven Spielberg's worst work. It makes me like all of his movies a little less. That's how much I hate it.
It's so funny. I was hanging out with my mom last week, and we started talking about book clubs. She's been in a long-running, a 20-year book club. And somebody asked, what's the worst book you ever read? She was like, easy. Ready Player One.
The book is also bad. It's not just Spielberg's fault. It's Ernest Cline's fault, too. He could have made an interesting commentary on fandom, on derivative reusing. It even aged poorly. The whole idea of the Oasis is basically what, Sora is now.
Yeah.
And, God, it just inspired a whole generation of tech nerds who are now working for OpenAI, who are just ruining everything.
It is weird, though. I will say, we have this catalog of videos. You mentioned you made a breakdown of that film, and it was a big successful film. Our breakdown did well when it came out. It doesn't get a ton of views on a regular basis still, however many years later, but it gets a lot of comments. And I think it's there's a particular type of person that watches Ready Player One religiously and then wants to go and find a YouTube and make deranged 4-paragraph posts in the comments section. There's a very it might be one guy. I don't know, but it's interesting. Yeah.
I want to ask you guys, anybody watching this, are you planning on watching Pluribus on Apple TV?
Yeah, the new Vince Gilligan joint.
The new Vince Gilligan show starring Rhea Seehorn. If you watch Better Call Saul, she played an amazing role in that series. Better Call Saul, better show than Breaking Bad. I think a better show than Breaking Bad. But Pluribus seems like a very weird high concept. It's almost like if Severance were in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
Or if it were kind of almost a mind virus with everyone in the world super happy, but this one person who's immune to whatever it is. It's a weird big mystery, X-Files spinoff, Twilight Zone type premise that the marketing has been weirdly withholding up until a trailer that was just released in the past week. I would love to be able to cover this on New Rockstars.
Yes. Have you even heard of this show? Because sometimes Apple, not the best at getting news about their shows out there. I feel like it's been a pretty lightly marketed show. But we are hopeful that it's going to be awesome and we might cover it. right?
I would love to. We might be able to get press screeners from Apple TV for it. The first 2 episodes are dropping November 7th, same day as Predator Badlands. We will be breaking down Predator Badlands.
Yeah,
I hope
excited.
you're watching our Predator rewatch series. Our breakdown of Prey is now available for channel members on New Rockstars, but tomorrow's public version will come out tomorrow. It's my favorite Predator movie.
Yeah.
Is your favorite Predator movie the original?
Probably still the original. It's hard to beat that. But God, I loved Prey, and I was surprised how much you love Killer of Killers. I'm really excited for your breakdown of that next week.
Also really, really good. Brandon Barrick has been helping us with most of those. Noah helped us out with the 2010 Predators breakdown. But yeah, I'm really glad we could do that. I think watching those will make you really love Predator Badlands even more when it comes out in the next 2 weeks. All right. I think we're good to wrap it up there. Studio Yee, if you're still watching, man, we miss you. Hope you're doing good.
Swing by anytime. We'll get some special lunch.
Yeah. Oh, special lunch. We got some leftover spits in the fridge. All yours, buddy. All right, everybody. Thanks so much to Brian Kim, who has been producing this episode. We got
Who does not have COVID.
Does not have COVID.
Tested negative.
It's negative.
Just let that be known.
Berg, we just violated some HIPAA thing, I think is what we just did. Berg has been killing it in the chat. Thanks as always to you, Berg, for helping manage that conversation. X.Matt, thank you for sending your 5 gift memberships for the break room. We appreciate you. And I've seen just Joshua pacing in the background, offering moral support and just being wonderful in the office this week. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.